Hey everybody, how's it going? Stoutman coming right back at you, and today I'm going to be talking to you actually about some DVDs that I picked up. Also at the very end, so you don't have to freak out or anything. At the very end, I'm going to be talking about two games that I picked up. So, first the DVDs, then the games. I know there are some people who just don't want to hear about games. I get it. So, DVDs first. I got 4 DVDs recently from Goodwill. Took advantage of a sale that they have there where if you get 4 titles from their DVDs that are usually between $2.99 and $3.99, then you can get them for $2.50 each. So it's a total of $10. It's 4 for $10, and you pay $2.50 per DVD. Now that's not a great deal, obviously, because there are places like when I went to Half Price Books back in the day where you can get DVDs for much cheaper than $2.50. But in my area right now, where I live right now, it's just not something you see every day or really often or anything like that. So as a result, I have decided to just deal with it and get whatever the best price is that I can find. So these were some of the best prices I could find, and they were things that I wanted or had some interest in, so went ahead and picked them up. The first title that I found there, well actually this was the last title I found, but I'll show it to you first. How about that? Is To Kill a Mockingbird, the Collector's Edition DVD. Now I know you're going to be saying, or some of you might be saying, that's on Blu-ray. It is on Blu-ray, but the reason I picked it up on DVD specifically is because they destroyed the Blu-ray. I don't know why, but if you actually watch like the little documentary feature they did for that, where they talk about how they restored the movie, they make no bones about it. They don't even try to deny it. They literally removed the grain structure from that film, from this film, and then replaced it with fake grain. I don't know why they thought that would work or why they thought people would be happy with that, but as some of you may know, the grain literally is the image. So when you remove it, you remove the detail. It doesn't matter if you put fake grain in afterwards. It doesn't make it look better or more real. It makes it look like you put fake grain on top of a detailless image. It doesn't bring the details back. It's a complete misunderstanding of how film grain works. So I don't know who the guys were that did that or why they did it that way. I'm pretty sure actually some of them are people who have been in the business for a long time now and should know better, but apparently don't. And that really bugs me. It bothers me. But whatever the case is with that, I'll judge them absolutely because they made a huge, monumental mistake, and it was a movie that I was looking forward to getting on Blu-ray, just waiting for it with bated breath, and they just totally screwed it up. They screwed it up, and for all I know, for all we know, it's completely screwed up forever and will never be the same because of that. But whatever the case with that, I went ahead and decided to get the DVD here used from Goodwill because I'm not going to support that crap. I've made up my mind. I am not going to support a terrible decision which removes film grain structure in some ridiculous, harebrained attempt to try and make a movie look better in high definition, and obviously literally cannot work. Will not, did not work. I mean, some people may have the Blu-ray and they may say, but it looks good. I'm sure that it's not necessarily something that you can easily pinpoint, right? But it's there. The fact that it could have been better, that they could have tried harder, that they didn't have to remove the grain structure, which is the image itself, but they did. It doesn't matter if it looks okay. It could have looked freaking fantastic, and it doesn't now, and may never because of what they did, and I will not support that. So maybe this doesn't look very good either, But the way I see it, either you get the not so good looking, like really offensive transfer on Blu-ray, or you get the not so good looking and not so offensive transfer on DVD. I'm less offended by the DVD, so I got the DVD instead. And this is, I don't know if I'd say it's one of my favorite movies, but it's definitely a movie that I have a strong fondness for, especially in these times. I feel like this is a movie that you should hold up and say, this is what it means to be an American. Okay? If you're trying to look for your playbook, if you're trying to figure out, like, or teach people how to actually be an American, for instance. If you're trying to instill American values in somebody, this is the movie, one of the movies I would recommend watching to instill American values in somebody. An absolutely perfect job at it. And it also just kind of reveals some of the flaws that we have as a culture, the American culture. So definitely a good one. I think that's one of the reasons that I decided to pick it up too, just because, you know, whenever I am experiencing something in my life, or, you know, there's something happening in the world around me that's just, you know, kind of tough to deal with, I like to go to movies. I mean, movies are my escape, but I don't want just some random popcorn flick escape. I'm not the kind of person who likes the popcorn flick escape. I mean, there's a time and place for the popcorn flick escape. I do enjoy them, but when something really terrible is happening in the world around me, or just my life is flipped upside down, or something's happened to my friends or whatever, there's just something that I'm experiencing that has me feeling pretty down, or feeling pretty like hopeless about things or whatever, I like to go to a movie. And it never it ceases to amaze me. It never ceases to amaze me that I don't have much trouble, because I have seen so many movies in my life, and I know so much about film now from all the studying I've done about it. I don't mean to like brag or anything like that. I'm just trying to like set up the story here. It never ceases to amaze me that despite all that, and because all of that, I have been able to find a movie that can relate to, in some way, to the struggles that I'm currently undergoing, or the struggles that are currently being foisted upon everybody by whatever's going on, you know what I mean? Whether it had been the economic downturn of like the Great Recession in 2008, or, you know, losing a girlfriend or something like that. Whatever the case may have been, I've always been able to find a movie that I can relate to on a deeper, more emotional level. And I feel like that's a lot more, it does a lot more for healing than just numbing yourself. And that's what popcorn flicks do. They numb yourself. You get numb to whatever's going on. You escape from it, but you don't actually get anything out of your escape. This is one of those movies that I feel like is an escape, and you get something out of it. It is enriching. And because of that, I'm very happy to finally have it in my collection. I just spent 10 minutes talking about this. I don't even care, because it's worth talking about. I used to have this movie actually on DVD. I don't remember what happened to it. I think it might have been one of the DVDs that I lost in a move at some point. But whatever happened to it, it is a movie that I have enjoyed quite frequently in the past. Dragonfly is such a good movie. In fact, I don't remember enough about it. So I can't even talk too much about it, because I've forgotten so much about it. It's been so long since I watched it last. But the funny thing is, I've seen this movie like 5 to 10 times, something like that. So you'd think I would remember, but I have a pretty crappy memory. So because my memory can get pretty crappy at times, it doesn't really surprise me that I can't remember a whole lot about this movie. I do remember it's about a guy who loses his wife and starts seeing all these signs everywhere that she's trying to contact him, that she's trying to tell him something. And he thinks that she's still alive, maybe. And he's going and trying to follow all these signs and figure out what they mean and everything. And, you know, it's a pretty interesting movie. I wouldn't say it's necessarily as deep as something like To Kill a Mockingbird, but I think it's a really good movie. And granted, at some point I got tired of watching it. I got tired of seeing it all the time on TV and whatnot. but it's definitely one that I want for my collection, just so that I can watch it every now and then. I don't think this is on Blu-ray though, so because it's... Let me just check that real quick, actually. Yeah, no, it's not on Blu-ray. If you can believe that, this is one of those titles that was never brought to Blu-ray, so the only way to get it, the only way to have it, is DVD. And this is the widescreen version, so why not? $250, maybe you can find it for less than that somewhere, I'm sure, because it was one of those really mass-produced ones. But again, in my situation, $250 is the price I'm willing to pay, especially considering that it was in really good condition. So I couldn't complain too much, and it'll be nice to be able to watch this again. It's been, gosh, probably like 10 years since I've actually seen this movie, so I mean, that's one of the reasons that I don't remember a whole lot about it. And as a result, I can't wait to check it out again, and glad to finally have this back in my collection. It is a repurchase for me. I don't remember what happened to the other one, but yeah, it is a repurchase. Next up here, this was actually the first one that I found, and I decided to get it because, well, not only because it's a film directed by Ken Burns. Ken Burns is a pretty solid name. Whenever you see that, you know you're getting something good. But also because I'm 95% sure, not 100, but 95% sure that I saw this movie on PBS a long time ago, like 10 years ago. Or it's not really a movie, it's a documentary. But I'm pretty damn sure I saw this once, and I found it really interesting at the time, but I never got to watch the whole thing. So, yeah, I am very glad that I found this, and it is Horatio's Drive, America's First Road Trip. If I recall correctly, the documentary that I'm holding in my hand is about the guy who was like the first one to actually drive across America. It's kind of funny because at the time that he did it, there were no roads. Most of the places he was going, they're driving his car, which, by the way, I mean, it's one of these old cars, right? It's like, it's one of the first cars, one of the first automobiles that ever existed. They were not built for off-road, and yet there were no roads where he was going with this. So, and there were no places to get repair parts or anything like that. So, he really was, in some ways, a pioneer. And pretty dang interesting story, needless to say. I mean, some people are going to say, well, how does that compare to something like Lewis and Clark? And it's a far cry from Lewis and Clark and what they did, right? But at the same time, just, you gotta appreciate the kind of stuff that he went through trying to get that done. And if this is the documentary that I remember watching, it was very good. It was a very interesting take on the whole story, and I can't wait to check it out again. And yeah, I mean, at the time, if it is the one I'm thinking of, at the time I had no idea it was a Ken Burns documentary, but there you go. Film directed by Ken Burns. And apparently there is a making of featurette on this, a making of the documentary, and outtakes from the film Romance of the Road, The First Road Trip, and Horatio Nelson Jacket. So, pretty cool. I guess maybe it is a movie. It's approximately 146 minutes in length, so it's at least feature-length documentary. Something you can definitely say about it. And it actually also had all the inserts here, so that is pretty cool. I mean, it's not every day you come across PBS DVD Gold, or any PBS title for that matter. And usually when you do, you want to think about picking them up, because those PBS titles are usually titles that you cannot get without like purchasing them online, or getting them when you give a donation or something like that to PBS when they have their drives and stuff like that to get people to donate. I remember one time I got a VHS copy of a story of Wishbone. Remember Wishbone? Back in the 90s, I got a VHS copy because I convinced my mom to donate $50. It cost $50 for her to get this VHS copy of Wishbone, and she did it for me. I don't remember what happened to that VHS copy, but I was very happy to have it at the time because Wishbone, really cool. Whenever you see PBS, whenever you see National Geographic stuff like that, you always want to take a look, especially if it's something that looks like it might interest you, and especially if it's got that name Ken Burns on it. Definitely worth checking out anything Ken Burns does. Last but not least, for the 4 for $10 deal, I managed to find actually factory sealed. This was a factory sealed. That Darn Cat. I wanted to check this one out again because it's been a long time since I've actually seen it. This is the original That Darn Cat movie with Haley Mills. It's been so long since I've actually seen it. I think the last time I saw it was on Disney Channel in like the 90s. So it's been a while, and I need to check it out again and see if it's something that I like, because I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is actually on Blu-ray now. Or if it's not, it wouldn't surprise me if they eventually put it onto Blu-ray through the Disney Movie Club. So, I figured $250 to get this and check it out on DVD is definitely worth it, even if, God, look at that horrible, just terrible artwork there. Like, they got that money sign thing on there that is not what the cat looked like. What the hell? Why does the cat have bling? It's literally bling. Why does the cat have bling? This is a movie made in the 70s. Bling didn't exist in the 70s. Well, I guess it did, but not in a wholesome Disney film. You know what I mean? Bling existed in the 70s. It was in stuff like Taxi Driver. All silliness aside, I do remember this being a very good movie, a very treasured movie at that. So when I saw it factory sealed there, I was like, this is a pretty golden opportunity. Maybe it's not, like, Disney DVDs, especially like of this caliber, typically aren't too expensive, especially considering that they're DVDs. But I figured at least it would be at least $5 new on Amazon if I were to look it up. Didn't even bother looking it up because I'm like, this is $250 for a brand new copy of the movie. I doubt you're going to find a better price than that anywhere for a brand new copy of the movie. So I decided to go for it, and I haven't watched it again yet, but I will do so eventually. So pretty cool stuff. That is all that I got at Goodwill, but I did also pick up some games that I mentioned earlier, and I'll just talk about those real quick. These are two titles I got from Mercari, and again, they are for the Wii and Wii U. And the reason I've been picking those titles up, obviously I have a Wii U and I want to play some Wii U games and some Wii games, because the Wii U plays Wii games. I know, Wii, I keep saying Wii and Wii U. Wii U. But another reason that I've been picking up titles like this is because it's a very good time to be buying these, because even the really popular Nintendo titles right now for the Wii and for the Wii U are going for pretty low prices right now. That will not always be the case, I can tell you that right freaking now. It is, I would say, the cheap period, and I don't think it's going to get much cheaper, because Nintendo's a lot like Disney, and their prized properties typically do not go much lower than a certain price point, and I think that price point is about $10 at the lowest. So currently for the Wii and the Wii U, you can find some pretty good deals on really popular, really high quality titles. And I haven't played a lot of these, so it's worth it to me to get them at that price. The first one I got here is just an example of me getting tired of waiting to find the best price, because quite frankly, like, every time I try to find a better price on this, it just falls through. Like, somebody else gets it first or whatever, what have you. So usually you can find it for between $8 and $10, but anytime that it shows up for $8 to $10, it's almost immediately snagged up. Or if it is that price and it hasn't been snagged up, it's usually because there's something wrong with it. Like, there's a booklet missing, it's not complete in case, it's not, doesn't have the right packaging, the packaging is damaged in some way, the disc is damaged in some way, yada yada yada. The list goes on. I wanted to make sure that I got a version of this that was complete in box. And well, I had to pay a little more than I wanted to get it that way, but it wasn't too much more. Rather than pay $8 to $10, I paid $11.25, I believe it was total, to get Kirby's Epic Yarn for the Wii. I have heard so many good things about this. Some people tell me it's the best Kirby game that was ever made. I love Kirby games to begin with, and I was so bummed out that I missed out on this one. So glad to finally have it in my collection. I can finally play this one. So cool. Don't know if you remember, but I also picked up Yoshi's Woolly World, which is in a sort of way based on this game. At least this came first, and then for the Wii U they did Yoshi's Woolly World. It was a Yoshi yarn game, kind of like Kirby's Epic Yarn. And yeah, as you can see, complete inbox. And the disc is actually in pretty damn good condition. It looks like it's almost never been touched. There's a few smudges on it, but nothing too terrible. So yeah, pretty happy with that. The booklet looks like, well, it looks like it's been at least a little bit used, but still in pretty good condition. It even has a Nintendo point. Remember when they did that? I think it was last year actually that they stopped doing the Nintendo point thing, but yeah, it actually has the code for that. That is no longer valid because they don't do Nintendo points anymore. At least not really the same way that they used to. It's not the same kind of system. So I'm not really worried about that because I got the game to play it. Not because I wanted points, but because I wanted to play this game, to finally get around to playing Kirby's Epic Yarn, and it has always looked fantastic, and I'm sure it is, as everybody has told me, fantastic. And $11.25 may not be the lowest price I can get it for, may not be the low price that I want to get it for, but I got tired of waiting, and I wasn't going to let the cheap price get by me, you know what I mean? Like there are times when retro games or older games from older systems drop to their lowest point, right? And I believe we are either nearing that point or we're in the dip, you know what I mean? Where it's like a steady line, or I'll put it this way because this is how it would look on a chart. Steady line going down, price going down, value going down, value going down. And then it hits a point where everybody says, this is retro now. And the second it becomes retro, it becomes valuable to people again. And then the price skyrockets. So you got to take advantage of it when you can in the dip, and you never know when that dip is going to end. And the second it ends, your chances of finding it for the price you were waiting for diminish by a number of magnitude. So I wasn't going to take that chance. And granted, I'm sure it'll be another couple of years before we even have to worry about that. But I was tired of waiting. I want to play this. So I want to make sure I have it. And now I have it. Very cool stuff. Last here, but not least, for the Wii U, I decided to pick up Super Mario Brothers U. And this one came to just under $20. It typically goes for like $25 to $30, so to be able to get it for less than $20 is a pretty good deal. It's a pretty popular title for the Wii U, and there's a reason for that. I've actually played this one. I played it with my sister-in-law, my nieces and nephew back when they had a Wii U, back when it had first come out. And I was very impressed with it because, quite frankly, they just knocked it out of the park. This is just a really fantastic return to the side-scrolling genre. And yes, there's this for Mario. And yes, I will say this, I know the new Super Mario Brothers game came out first on the Wii, and there was also a new Super Mario Brothers game for the Nintendo DS, which I have both of those, by the way, now. I have both of them. The new Super Mario Brothers U was a surprise to me because you would have thought, well, it's just like an upgrade or something like that. No, it's its own game. And I think in some ways it could actually be better than the new Super Mario Brothers Wii. So Yeah, say what you will, but I think this is a fantastic game. Especially a great game to play with family and friends. So, very happy to have it now in my collection and to have gotten it for a pretty damn good price. Obviously, you'd love to get it for a way better price, but it's one of those titles where it's popular enough that you're just not going to find it. And more than likely, you're not going to find it for that price. So, new Super Mario Brothers U, less than $20. I'm pretty happy with that price. I'll take it. That, however, is that. That's all that I've gotten in the past little while here. That included with the Blu-ray update that I recently did. So, yeah. But I do have some stuff coming on the way. I took advantage of the Criterion sale, and I took advantage of another Kino Lorber sale, so I will be doing videos on those as soon as they come in. So, yeah, well, shortly after they come in. You know what I mean? So, yeah, stay tuned for those, and I'll catch you later. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.